Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today, we're going to be going over the last unique item for Diablo 4 patch 1.5.0. So until they add new ones in Season 6, which is coming really soon. I'm not exactly sure when this video is scheduled. I'll have to do that later, but it's probably sometime late September, close to October. So we still got probably like a couple weeks until the season launches. And there's going to be new unique items, so we're going to have new videos, and they may change some of them, so we'll have to do some updates. But always look out for that version number on there so you know whether it's an up-to-date video or not. The last unique item that we're going to be covering today is the Fleshrender. The Fleshrender is an amazing item that has only gotten better since it's been released, and although it wasn't always the most amazing item, it has definitely been getting better every single patch. Let's go over this version of Fleshrender and talk about what you can potentially do with it and how you can set it up to your advantage. First off, it does give an 85% damage to poisoned enemies on the passive effect, which cannot be increased. It is 153 to 225 willpower, which is a pretty large chunk of willpower, to be honest, and for an item, for a one-handed weapon anyway. It does have 6 to 8% cooldown reduction, which isn't really necessary, but it's nice to have. And we also get plus 2 to 3 to defensive skills, which is going to come in handy for the way that this particular ability works. The special effect, the meat and potatoes of the Fleshrender, is the unique effect, which is casting a defensive skill deals up to 12,030 damage to nearby poisoned enemies, increased by 15% for every 100 per willpower that you currently have. The current bonus is 210%. As you can see, I only have 1,459 willpower, and I can bring that up tremendously by adding in more willpower, like using willpower gems, pieces of equipment that stack willpower in large amounts of way. Like, for instance, there are items in the game like Arida's Will, which is actually a pretty interesting one, that just gives like a flat percentage of willpower. And in this particular case, if I threw this on in place of Ring of the Starless Skies, you can see now that my willpower has gone up quite a bit, and the multiplier has gone up as well. Now, some of the changes that they made to this was it used to be only Earthen Bulwark and Cyclone Armor, but now it's Blood Howl, Debilitating Roar, Earthen Bulwark, and Cyclone Armor. It's all of them now, or actually was it Blood Howl and Debilitating Roar and not the others? I can't remember. But now it's all of them. So it's all of them will cause it to happen. Now, what do you need to make this happen? Well, first off, you need monsters to be poisoned, which is pretty easy to do on the Druid. There's a lot of various ways that you can poison monsters. One of the easiest ways is constricting tendrils. As you can see, we have monsters already poisoned, so not really too big of a deal. You could also potentially be utilizing something like Andariel's Visage, which would help you make sure that everything is poisoned, which would also be another interesting way to do it. And as you can see, now everything is poisoned, and it's, bleeding away, which is exactly what we want. Now, the way that this special effect works is that as you're attacking and you use a basic skill, or a defensive skill, it's going to cause this damage pump on the poison targets nearby. And every single time you use one of those abilities, you're going to get this effect. Now, there are ways that you can instantly reset your skills, and it basically involves spamming specific abilities. So right now I'm currently set up with a trilogy build, which is where I spam Earth Spike to get free Wind Shear and Storm Strike, and I spam Wind Shear to get free Earth Spikes. And because of this, I'm utilizing an aspect called the symbiotic aspect, and it's Wind Nature Fury Key passive, trigger a free skill. Your non-ultimate cooldowns of the opposite type are reduced by 4.5 seconds, which goes up to 5. I don't have a perfect one yet. And what this does is we can basically just hold down the button and we can spam an ability to reset the cooldowns of our attacks. Now, another thing that you kind of want to play around with is there's another aspect called the aspect of nature's savagery. And the aspect of nature's savagery allows your Blood Howl and your debilitating roar to also count into this as well. And I'm going to have to go grab a nature's savagery real quick just for this specific video, but because I'm not using it at the moment. Nature Savagery is werewolf skills function as storm skills, and werebear skills function as earth skills for the Nature's Fury key passive, which is exactly what we want. Let's go ahead and just throw this on here for the time being, and we'll take it back off later. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to allow us to spam our defensive skills with a ferocity that has never been seen or heard from in the realms of Diablo or Kyovashad. They're going to wondering what's going on down here in this training room. So let's talk about how this works, and then we're going to actually get into the practical. So Nature's Fury, casting an Earth skill has a 35% chance to trigger a free storm skill, and casting a Storm skill has a 35% chance to trigger a free Earth skill, right? So what does this mean? This means that when I use Earthen Bulwark, or when I use Cyclone Armor, there is a chance, a 35% chance, that I'm going to get the opposite skill is going to proc as well. And the same thing goes for Storm Howl and Debilitating Roar, right? So I'm going to get something. Like, you never know what exactly is going to work, and spamming them as fast as you possibly can is going to give you the best possibility that multiple of these effects are going to occur, right? So if we're spamming our defensive skills as fast as possible, we're going to be able to utilize the Fleshrender to its 100% effectiveness in this way. So we're going to get that damage bump more often because we're going to be applying the effects quicker. And it's not always apparent whether or not it worked to cause the things to happen. Like in that particular case, you saw that when I cast Earthen Bulwark, I also got the Cyclone Armor for free. And when I cast Cyclone Armor, there's also a chance that I'll get Earthen Bulwark for free.
Mr. Goody Two Shoes, Mr. Goody Two Shoes. Ginger Evil Mentor here. Why bother farming when you can go to MMOEXP.com and simply purchase your items in gold? GGM would have you farm the items. What a pathetic being. Use code GEM Ginger Evil Mentor for 6% off your entire purchase. And don't tell Ginger Gaming Mentor that I was here.
And vice versa. Now, when you're using the symbiotic aspect, the symbiotic aspect is going to help us keep all these reset and running on a nice flow rate. So we're going to just be constantly using them as fast as we possibly can. Now, the way that nature's symbiotic, the symbiotic aspect works, is the symbiotic aspect works by using the opposite skill to reset that skill. So if we want to reset Cyclone Armor, we're going to use Earth Spike. If we want to reset Earthen Bulwark, we're going to use Wind Shear. And Wind Shear is going to give us a really fast reset, or it should be anyway. There you go. A really fast reset on that. All of them are going to function in this, and we're basically going to get the resets on everything as fast as we possibly can. So our goal here is going to be to switch back and forth between each one of these and basically just press the buttons as fast as we possibly can. As you can see, we're able to get pretty much a constant reset rate on any of the skills that we're interested in resetting. We just need to use that particular ability so that we're getting the resets on it as quickly as possible. Now, every time that we use a defensive, we're getting these damage pumps. As you can see, we're already hitting for 1,000,000 here, 1,000,000.414. And these are because we're constantly keeping the targets poisoned. We're constantly using our defensives, and we're basically just spamming them as fast as we possibly can. Now, how else can we reduce the cooldowns to make them even more spammy and to get even more damage out of them? Well, another way that we could potentially do this is through the hectic aspect. So the hectic aspect is an aspect that reduces the cooldowns of skills depending on how many times you've attacked with your basic skill. So after using 5 casts of your basic skill, you get a 2-second cooldown reduction off of basically a random skill, and it's going to stack cumulatively across all these, which are currently on cooldown. You're going to want to get as much cooldown reduction as you can, about 75% if you can manage it, which is going to reduce all these cooldowns to their bare minimum. Then you're also going to want to get the best version of Fleshrender that you possibly can as well, so that the multipliers are actually doing as much as they possibly can. You're going to stack as much willpower as you can to get that multiplier as high as you can possibly get it. You're going to alternate back and forth between 2 skills that are going to be attacking at an extremely fast rate, like Wind Shear and Earth Spike, which are going to reset your Earthen Bulwark and your Cyclone Armor relatively fast. They're also going to trigger the hectic aspect, which is going to reset your Debilitating Roar and your Blood Howl and your Cyclone Armor and your Earthen Bulwark even faster, which is definitely going to be very nice. And I mean, this is just, it just feeds into itself. Like, it's very difficult to explain. Like, once you get it fully set up, the way that you're going to be spamming these defensives is going to be insane. And every single time you spam a defensive, you're going to do a big damage bump, and you're going to have a chance for a second damage bump to occur because, of course, you have multiple defensives. So, as an example, let's go ahead and poison the monsters real quick. So I use Earthen Bulwark, and I use Cyclone Armor, and then I use Blood Howl, and then I use Debilitating Roar, right? So I've got everything constantly using their abilities. But you can definitely get 2 pumps of the same ability. So, you know, when you're using Earthen Bulwark, there's a chance that your Cyclone Armor goes off. In that particular case, I got both the Cyclone Armor and the Earthen Bulwark when I used it, which is really nice. And there are some limitations to the way that the symbiotic aspect works and the Nature's Fury works, but for the most part, it's going to give you your best bet to get as many of these defensive skills activated as you possibly can. There's also some interesting things like Vigilance, which gives you damage reduction after using a defensive skill, so capping this out would probably be a good idea since you're spamming all 4 defensive skills. Your character is also just going to be really tanky in general. I mean, think about it. You're going to have permanent Earthen Bulwark active, which is unstoppable, and Barrier. You can also go with the innate Bulwark to get more explosion damage based on your barrier bonuses, so you can have an explosion happening constantly, or you can go with Fortification. You've got Cyclone Armor constantly causing additional damage reduction and hitting monsters and kind of like knocking them away from you. You got Blood Howl healing you and giving you either Spirit or Regeneration or faster attack speed, whichever one you want. Earthen Debilitating Roar is going to reduce the damage of the monsters around you. It's going to heal you and fortify you, and you could also go the way where it slows monsters, and you're basically just going to be spamming these constantly. The sheer number of defensive abilities that you're going to be firing off on a regular basis with an item like this is kind of insane, especially when you consider it from a certain perspective. And there's so many ways that you could go about trying to reduce the cooldown of the defensive skills. Obviously, stacking cooldown reduction, using the hectic aspect, using the symbiotic aspect, using Nature's Fury to get additional casts. You could also use Yen's Blessing to give you a free cast every 8 seconds. Wild Heart Hunger to give you additional damage bonus. I mean, there's tons of stuff here. It's hard to overstate how ridiculously high that these could potentially scale. In fact, I've actually seen a couple people talking about some videos that they saw about these, but I already knew it's like, you know, even before Season 5 came out, how ridiculous these were going to be. And I had always planned to kind of like get a full build set up, but running out of time, of course. Today is August 23rd. And or 22nd, sorry, August 22nd, and tomorrow is the launch of Diablo 2 Resurrected Season 8. So I'm going to be diving into that, and I don't really have a chance to make a whole bunch more characters. Wish I did. The flavor text on this says, "This weapon is a reminder of the unbridled savagery of our druidic ancestors, the wisdom of which I see more clearly with every day that passes." Moreg, Druidic Scholar. If you guys were unaware, Fleshrender is also a unique from Diablo 2. It wasn't exactly like the most amazing in the world, but it definitely was decent for like a low-level smiter as a budget weapon. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals joining me for these videos. Be sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button if you enjoy the content. And as always, keep watching.